God only knows. Emma stood at the edge of the Santa Monica Pier, her hands gripping the weathered railing as she gazed out at the Pacific. The setting sun painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, a beautiful backdrop to the turbulent emotions swirling within her. She closed her eyes, letting the salty breeze caress her face, carrying the faint strains of a familiar melody from a nearby street performer. The song transported her back to a time when life seemed more straightforward, and when love was all that mattered. She thought of Jack, her husband of 30 years, and the journey that had brought them to this moment. They had met right here on this very pier, two young souls full of dreams and aspirations. Emma, a budding marine biologist, had been sketching the intricate patterns of a starfish she'd found in a tide pool. Jack, an aspiring musician, had been strumming his guitar, his soulful voice carrying across the boardwalk. Their eyes had met, and in that instant Emma knew her life would never be the same. Jack's music spoke to her in a way nothing else had, and her passion for the ocean's mysteries captivated him completely. As the years passed, their love only grew stronger. They built a life together, supporting each other's dreams and weathering life's storms side by side. Emma's research took her to the far corners of the globe, studying the impact of climate change on marine ecosystems. Jack's music career blossomed, his heartfelt lyrics and melodies touching the lives of millions. But now, 3 decades later, Emma found herself alone on the pier, her heart heavy with uncertainty. Jack had been diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's disease 6 months ago, and their world had been turned upside down. She remembered the day they received the news, how Jack had held her hand tightly as the doctor explained the prognosis. His first words after the diagnosis still echoed in her mind, "No matter what happens, I'll always remember our love. It's etched into my very soul." Since then, they have faced each day with a mixture of hope and trepidation. Some days Jack is his old self, cracking jokes and serenading her with new melodies. On other days, the fog of confusion descends, and he struggles to remember the simplest things. Emma had thrown herself into researching treatments and clinical trials, determined to fight this cruel disease with every ounce of her being. But tonight, the weight of it all had become too much to bear. She had slipped out of their beachfront home while Jack napped, needing a moment to breathe and remember. As she stood there, lost in thought, a familiar voice cut through the evening air. Emma, is that you?" She turned to see Jack walking towards her, a look of relief washing over his face. In his hand, he clutched his old battered guitar case. "Jack, what are you doing here? How did you find me?" Emma asked, surprised and concerned. He smiled that same boyish grin that had stolen her heart all those years ago. "I woke up, and you were gone. But I knew. I just knew you'd be here. This place, it's a part of us, isn't it?" Emma nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "Yes, it is. I'm sorry I worried you. I just needed some air." Jack set down his guitar case and took her hands in his. "Hey, no apologies needed. I understand. This thing we're going through, it's not easy. But I want you to know something." He paused, his blue eyes searching hers with an intensity that took her breath away. "I may forget a lot of things in the coming years. I may forget what I had for breakfast or where I left my keys. But I will never ever forget you, and what we have." Emma felt a sob catch in her throat. "Oh, Jack." He pulled her close, wrapping her in a warm embrace. "You're the constant in my life, Em. The North Star guided me home. No matter how lost I get, I'll always return to you." They stood there for a long moment, holding each other, as the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon. Finally Jack pulled away slightly, a mischievous glint in his eye. "I didn't lug this old guitar down here for nothing. What do you say we recreate a little magic? Emma laughed through her tears. Jack Melody, are you proposing we put on an impromptu concert right here on the Santa Monica Pier? He winked, already opening his guitar case. Well, Mrs. Melody, that's exactly what I'm proposing. After all, it worked pretty well for me the first time around. As Jack began to strum the song's opening chords that had brought them together all those years ago, Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. The melody wrapped around them like a cocoon, transporting them back to that fateful day when two young hearts had found their match. Passersby stopped to listen, drawn in by the raw emotion in Jack's voice and the love radiating between the couple. Emma hummed along, her fears and worries momentarily forgotten, as she lost herself in the music and memories. As the final notes faded, Jack set his guitar aside and pulled Emma close again. See. Some things are just too powerful to be forgotten. Our love, Em, it's written in the stars, etched into the very fabric of the universe. Emma rested her head on his shoulder, breathing in his familiar scent. I'm scared, Jack, she whispered. I'm scared of losing you, of you forgetting us. Jack gently lifted her chin, meeting her gaze. Listen to me, Emma Melody. I may forget many things, but I will never truly forget you. You're a part of me, as essential as the air I breathe. And even if there comes a day when I can't remember your name or how we met, I'll still know, deep in my soul, that you're the one I love. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, weathered notebook. I've been writing things down, you know. All our memories, the big moments and the small ones. The day we met, our first kiss, we got caught in that thunderstorm in Bali. Emma laughed softly, remembering how they had huddled together under a tiny beach umbrella, soaked to the bone, but giddy with adventure. Jack continued, I've written down how your eyes crinkle when you laugh, and always burn the toast but make the best cup of coffee I've ever tasted. I've described how you bite your lip when deep in thought, and how your hand fits perfectly in mine. He pressed the notebook into her hands. So even if my mind betrays me, we'll have this. We'll have our story written down, for us to rediscover together. Emma clutched the notebook to her chest, overwhelmed by the love and thoughtfulness behind the gesture. Oh, Jack. I don't know what to say. He smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. You don't have to say anything, Em. Just promise me something. Anything, she whispered. Promise me that no matter how tough things get, or how lost I might become, you'll remember this moment. Remember us here on this pier, surrounded by music and love. Remember that what we have is stronger than any disease, any hardship life might throw our way. Emma nodded, her voice thick with emotion. I promise, Jack. I'll remember for both of us if I have to. As they stood there, bathed in the soft glow of the pier lights, Emma felt a shift within her. The fear and uncertainty that had driven her here began to recede, replaced by a fierce determination. They would face this challenge as they had faced every other obstacle in their lives, together with love and music as their guiding lights. Jack picked up his guitar once more, strumming a gentle melody. What do you say we head home, Mrs. Melody? I've got a new song I've been working on, and I could use your expert opinion. Emma smiled, linking her arm through his. Lead the way, Mr. Melody. I can't wait to hear it. As they walked along the moonlit beach towards home, Emma realized that while the future was uncertain, one thing remained constant: their love. It was a melody that would continue, even when all other songs faded. In the days, months, and years that followed, Emma and Jack faced the progression of his disease with courage and grace. There were difficult moments, when the fog of confusion threatened to overwhelm them both. But through it all, they clung to the memories they had created, and the love that bound them together. Emma read from Jack's notebook every day, sometimes to remind him of the shared history, other times to remind herself of the man he had been and still was beneath the disease. On good days, they would visit the pier, Jack's guitar in tow, and recreate the magic of their first meeting. On the hardest days, when Jack struggled to recognize the world around him, Emma would hold him close and hum their song. Without fail, a glimmer of recognition would spark in his eyes, and for a moment they were young again, two souls intertwined by a love that transcended time and circumstance. As the years passed, their story became a legend among the locals of Santa Monica. People would point out that the elderly couple was walking hand in hand along the pier, and their love was a beacon of hope in an often chaotic world. Though Jack's memories continued to fade, the essence of their love remained, a constant, unbreakable thread weaving through the tapestry of their lives. For in the end, it wasn't the individual memories that mattered most, but the enduring melody of their love, a song written in the language of the heart, immune to the ravages of time and disease. Emma knew with unwavering certainty that their love would echo long after their time on earth had passed. It would live in the crash of waves against the shore, the laughter of young lovers discovering each other for the first time, and the timeless melodies that had the power to touch souls and transform lives. For Emma and Jack Melody, their love story was proof that some bonds are truly eternal, a symphony of the heart that plays on, even when all other music fades away.